Hey, good morning. Steve Wiideman, Wiideman Consulting Group, here with Hansel and Jeremy, and today we are drinking coffee, Columbian black drip coffee from sugar...
Cream and sugar.
Cream and sugar.
Cappuccino, Java Jive, Mocha Latte, Java Jive. I love coffee, I love tea.
Mirada Blvd.
I've seen this place a ton. Every time I drive by it, I'm like, I gotta try that place. So today we're gonna try their black coffee and see if it's any good. And then next week we'll do an espresso.
All right,
sound good?
I like it.
All right,
Cheers.
cheers.
Cheers,
Definitely
Nice.
much better than Starbucks in
Your
general.
smile right away.
Right, so good. I love the boutique coffee shops so much better than some of the franchises.
Sure.
It's good stuff.
Extra care.
So the question came up earlier when we were thinking about kind of topics about snippets
Right,
and how important they are.
right. One of the subscribers asked, what's a Google snippet?
What's a Google snippet? Well, there's different types of snippets, right? Ultimately, you perform a search. When you perform a search, what shows up in the results is called an impression. When you click on something, it's called a click. The ratio to clicks and impressions is called click-through rate, and it's something that's been proven to be an actual ranking signal. And you can manipulate it. Remember the other day we had an attorney who had a new website, and we want to sort of increase how quickly we get that new website to the top of the search results. So we asked some people to search and click, and within a few days he's back up to the top for his brand. And not something you'd normally do to try to manipulate results, but at the same time it was a great way to get his new page up, since his old page had been completely just taken down and gone, and we try to revive the business. Now people find the right listing, he's the most relevant for it, he'll stick there. If you try to do it with a result that wasn't relevant, eventually Google will catch on that search behavior was manipulated, and eventually it'll go away. But for him it was appropriate because it's his site, it's who he is, and it was for his brand name. We also did some tests in the past, and Fishkin did some tests in the past where you perform a search, and if enough people searched and clicked on the same result, that result would move up to the top quickly. The snippet is what Google displays and what you actually end up clicking on. The snippet includes a title and a description and sometimes some other features. And there's different types, right? Besides just the standard title, URL, and meta description, sometimes you'll see dates. If it's a blog post, the Google put the date in right next to the results.
Ratings sometimes.
Ratings and reviews.
Yep.
There is rich snippets where they show stars and things like that. And there's also something called rich cards. And rich cards are sort of a newer technology that Google is putting into the results that has this cool little carousel, little blocks you've seen across the top. Sometimes you'll see them on mobile as well. In fact, if you want to see what a card looks like, download Google Inbox by Google, and you can go to travel, and it'll show a list of all the different travel arrangements that you have,
Right.
which is something that it algorithmically is able to pick up based on certain key fields like confirmation number, location, things like that. So it finds those fields and says, oh, this is related to a trip, and it creates a card out of it. So it's smart enough to pick up, in many cases, smart enough to pick up that data for concerts and events. If you do a search for, Snoop Dogg concert,
Right.
in the results you'll see listings, but then you'll also see some dates underneath those listings. Some of them are picked up automatically by Google because they're in a table, and it sees the fields, it sees the title of the heading fields, and it is able to create the data in the results based on what it finds. Those of us who want to control or influence what shows up can actually add some extra code to specify to Google. It's called structured markup, right? And we take the structured markup and we take the same little area that used to say event name, right? And instead of just saying event name, we would tag it with an item prop ID that would say, hey Google, when you see this field, it is an event name. And it knows that from schema.org or whichever format it decides to reference to see exactly what that means. So now you're defining what the information is on your webpage, as opposed to just slopping up some text and saying, here Google, you figure it out. You're organizing it and adding a few extra attributes. And some of the cool things that you can do with rich snippets is your social icons. You ever do a search for a brand and you see the knowledge panel?
Yep.
And sometimes you'll see the social icons. So you can actually specify in the header of your website where your Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn are, and it'll put the logos in and everything automatically for you. recipes, you'll see a lot of rich snippets on recipes.
Yep.
Travel is a big one. So they're experimenting with ways to show more information to users without the user having to click the result. And it's preview stuff. It's not, if you're looking for a concert, you're not going to see the venue seating chart. You're not going to see the time and who's opening, parking information. You're going to see the basic, most important info. You know, what the date is, who's performing in the venue.
Well, it makes sense too. If you're on page 1 of a search looking and you only have 3 or 4 lines of description there, that snippet's going to be very valuable in determining where they click.
Now, there's a lot of controversy with snippets. One of the most popular ones is what people are calling the position 0, right, or the quick answer box, the featured snippet at the top. And it's controversial because those pages used to drive a lot of traffic to those websites, but now that Google's showing the important information at the top, less people are clicking on it. So businesses are concerned that they're going to lose traffic. But the reality is where it's showing rich snippets are to solve problems and answer questions, which are authority signals. And the analogy I was thinking about earlier was you're at a food trade show, right? And the person who's the information booth at the beginning, at the front when you walk in, knows who all the people are. He knows there's 5 or 10 cake booths, right? And there's several dessert booths. And somebody comes up and they say, you know, basically, hey, I need to make a cake for the guy who's running the event, and I've got a couple hours. Who should I use? And the information booth person has to show him something. Well, each one of the vendors has a brochure, a one-page brochure that talks about their services for making cakes, right? And that page is important because it helps the person decide if this is who I want to hire, how much it costs. What's more important are the audiences of people who are at those booths. And the booths that have the most amount of people going to them, the booth information person will look over and see who's at where, right? Wow, a lot of people seem to be going to this booth a lot. And I noticed that a lot of the other booths are using this booth's cake recipe because they're finding that, you know, the way that he does cakes is easier, faster, and really works for everybody. So the booth owner knows by having been there all day and watching what people are interacting with and how other booths are talking about the booth that is probably the authority. That's where the signal comes in. So if Google's the booth guy at the front, the information guy, and he's trying to tell us where to go to, what are the signals he's going to look at? Where are people going the most? Who are they talking about and who are they referencing the most as the authority? And the page he's going to rank is that one-page brochure. Right. Where a lot of businesses fail is they forget to put the brochure page up and Google doesn't know which page to rank. So they'll rank the home page, which doesn't give a lot of information about cake making, for example. Right. So ultimately we want our cake page to rank when somebody's searching for cake maker. To make that happen, we have to become an authority on cake, and that's where rich snippets help us to show Google that we're authoritative around information that is helpful, useful, and relevant to what the user's looking for. So I don't think taking away traffic is hurting the business.
Right.
I think it's moving the cake making page up to the top and helping get more business.
Great analogy.
Yeah, it is a great analogy. I mean, it highlights the importance of being able to summarize a lot of content in a really specific way. So, but that top box, is that something that Google is taking from your page and summarizing, or is the marketing agency or whoever's creating that page, are they creating the summary that will appear in Google?
So it's a combination of what users are interacting with, like we were talking about, is where are they going, in the virtual conference thing, where are they going the most. It's curation, it's people taking those lists and sharing them on their own website. If you're doing research and you're trying to figure out what are the 5 important steps to creating a cake, or how do I create a cake, and you find this page and you go, wow, this is really helpful, and you copy the content to something that you're doing. Maybe you put it in a PDF on your website, maybe you list it on your how to make a cake and you reference it, and then Google's crawling the web and it finds these areas, these checklists, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, on many websites. It identifies you as being the one that had that content first, as it cataloged the website and indexed it in their database. And then it says, well, when I look at the internet, most of what I find all sources back to this checklist for the most part. 90% of the results all say do these things. The source where I found that information was this website, so I'm going to post a list and then a link to that website. That's basically how it happens. So that's snippets, and there's a lot of them. We'll maybe in the video we'll show some links in the description as well, some example snippets. I mentioned social, ratings, reviews, local business information. You can even put your logo into the knowledge panel, which is kind of neat. So we'll share some of those in the video and in the description, and hopefully you'll find those snippets helpful. The goal of the snippet is to get the higher click-through rates. The higher click-through rates can influence our ranking for the pages. The more rich information that we can share in our pages, the more likely they are to click. The more clicks we get, and hopefully the higher our ranking becomes. So that's Snippets.
I want some cake now too.
Yeah, no, I'm hungry. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
See you next week.
See ya.
All right.